got a few names to talk about in free agency here in a few minutes, but first and foremost, as far as how the Chiefs go going into the offseason here, there's quite a few unrestricted free agents for the Chiefs that are very well-known names. I think if I looked at the list, it was something around 20 players currently are going to be free agents on the Chiefs team. And some of those guys, I want to play a game with you two right now. We're going to play a little bit of a tender swipe left, swipe right kind of a scenario here with some Kansas City Chiefs or potentially former Kansas City Chiefs here going forward in a couple weeks. So I'm going to name off players from the team currently, and if you do not want them going forward, let's take the money out of the equation. Then I want you to swipe left. If you want to keep them, then swipe right. So starting off with that, let's go with Sammy Watkins. Are you going to swipe left or swipe right?
Now, just to be clear, we're swiping left if we want to get rid of them, right?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
That means he's a nasty bitch.
All right, so Sammy Watkins, we're going to swipe him left just because, I feel like he's already made his mark on the Chiefs, and he probably doesn't have a whole lot left to give. So we're going to swipe him left and get rid of his ass.
I'm going to go ahead and swipe right and keep Sammy Watkins. I'd like to see him for a couple more years. I still feel like he has value to give. Yes, the injuries. Yes, he's injury prone. Whatever. When the guy's on the field, he is a difference maker. He is a guy, a weapon. We didn't see. I didn't think we saw enough between Pringle and Hardman to be able to say, hey, we got a for sure number 2. We didn't see that this year. Not what we talked about, especially as a group going into the season, the Hardman value. So I'm going to go right. I'd rather keep Watkins for another year or two. It may be like a small deal, a year or 2 deal. So.
Interesting. To be a number 2, though, Tanner, you also got to be on the field. And so that's a problem that I see for Sammy Watkins, as we all know. I think he's an injured bum at this point of his career. And I think that's going to be a problem because he's as good as a player as he can be when he's on the field. He's not consistent, and it's going to screw with the team during midweek practices. Now, this Chiefs offense is better when he's on the field. That is a fact. We see it in the statistics. But then again, we have enough of a sample size of statistics to know for a fact that that is the case. At the same time, is he replaceable? Yes, absolutely. We can find a body who's going to be there more consistently to replace him as time goes on. And Byron Pringle is freaking awesome. So I think if you give him a shot, there's a chance that he could make a move. But I'm going to go swipe left on Sammy Watkins for me. So after that, we're going to go Dirty Dan. Daniel Sorensen is going to be 32 years old soon, 31 at the moment. Our safeties right now are looking pretty well. I mean, we have good young guys. Tyrann Mathieu still young. Juan Thornhill still young. And so with that said, is he going to be a swipe left or swipe right?
Well,
is Dirty Dan a dirty bitch is what I'm asking.
Well, he is a dirty bitch, but I am going to swipe his ass right because I love the guy's football IQ. And he's been on the Chiefs for a long time now, and he's a guy that we trust. So I'm swiping him right because of his football IQ.
This is a guy I'm really torn about because we do have some pretty good depth in the secondary that could take Dirty Dan's spot. I've always been a push and pull kind of guy with Dirty Dan. I love his play at times, but dang it, turn your head around, man. Come on. I'm going to go left. I'm swiping left on Dirty Dan. We got Armani Watt still in the background. We got Snead who could fill in that position. I'm going left, man.
That's amazing. Like he's keeping Sammy Watkins and getting rid of Dirty Dan. That's an amazing take there, Tanner.
We must have a different taste in guys, I guess.
We do.
I'm going to go swipe right on Dirty Dan. I think he does the deed just well for me anyway. Now, yeah, he does have. He's always had off and on moments. He's always had productive moments, and then other times where it's like the guy is horrible. But then again, he's not like awful like guys in the past. Ben Neiman of the Chiefs currently is pretty awful, and so I think that Dirty Dan's worth keeping around for at least another year or two. And we all know Andy Reid is a Mormon as well. BYU connection with Dirty Dan is going to want to keep him around with that too. After that, we got 29-year-old Bashaud Breeland, a cornerback, a starter for this team. Is he going to be a swipe left, swipe right?
Yeah, I'm going to swipe left on Bashaud Breeland just because I think that we should be able to afford him to keep him, and I think we can trust him to do his job.
Wait, so you're keeping him? So isn't that swipe right?
Swipe right.
Swipe
I
right.
mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Nobody knows which way is left or
Well,
right.
Eric over here in the comments actually mentioned, what about a super like? So save your super like, don't use it yet, but wait till the iron's hot, then strike that bitch and get her when she's real good.
Right. We don't know our left from right. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna
Go
swipe
right.
right.
Look,
Go
Swipe right on
Thank you.
Deshaun
There you
Baylor.
go.
We're not
All right.
Tinder people. Anyways, I'm going swipe right, so I'm keeping
Wow, he
Rashad
agreed with
Breeland.
me.
Right, I want this guy. He is a big piece when he's outside of suspensions and everything last year. He's still a big piece for the cornerback. He is our number one cornerback. We got to keep the guy.
Yeah, I would like to keep him probably for another year or two if we can get him on a good deal. I do think that there is some good young corners on this team. I'm still a fan of Rashad Fenton, and I think L'Jarius Sneed is a legitimate starting caliber cornerback for this team, at least from what he's shown so far. And as long as they can keep around at least one of the two, Tereus Ward or Breeland, then that's going to be just fine for the cornerback group this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go swipe right. I'd like to keep him around for at least another year if we can make that happen. I got 4 more for you guys. Demarcus Robinson.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go left with him because we can do a little bit better than Demarcus Robinson. I think he needs to be out of here. Let's get him out of here.
Yeah, I'm going left. See you, dude. I don't want you. There's a different depth between Sammy Watkins and Marcus Robinson, and we got players that could fill that DeMarcus Robinson role. I'm good. See you, man.
For me, it's a swipe left. Did you see his profile? It says cannot catch balls. So that's not going to work out for me very well. I need someone who can handle things like that. So, D-Rob, get the hell out of here. Go somewhere else. After that, we got our starting center, Austin Ryder. Is he going to be a swipe left, swipe right for you guys?
That's a good question.
I mean, I'll swipe left.
Is it because he sucks, or what's your anything?
Yeah, he sucks.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah, I'd have to go left too.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're not talking money, but I don't think he's worth the payroll. We have other guys that could probably fill that spot.
Yeah, let's move on. He was part of that O-line in the Super Bowl that helped get Patrick Mahomes destroyed. So,
Yep.
And I've never been a fan of Austin Ryder. I've always thought he was a below-average center that we could do way better with if we just find somebody else. Even Dan Kilgore, I thought, played better at times.
Oh, by far.
And he was a backup for the team. So after that, we got Tano Passanio. What do you guys think of him?
Yeah, I'm gonna swipe right on him. I think he's a keeper.
You know, if this was Grinder, I'd definitely swipe right, like Eric said here. So.
Is it because he's tall and lanky?
Dude, the guy's a freaking beast.
I know. I've seen him with his shirt off. Yeah.
I haven't seen him.
Look at his profile picture.
Oh, I haven't looked at his profile.
It's beautiful.
Look, the guy,
I don't know.
the guy has really built or came into the defense ever since Spags took over. He's got to get his hand down in the dirt. He's been a force. I love the guy. He's a great depth as well on the line. So I am keeping this guy. He's actually, I will admit, he is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite player on the Chiefs. So
whoa,
I want to keep this guy.
Your favorite
That is
player
a-
on the Chiefs.
I've loved Tano since he came in the league. Second round from Villanova. So
that is crazy.
let's
actually.
go Tano, baby.
So he
Okay,
just
Tanner.
said he's better than Patrick Mahomes, basically.
I
Is it
know.
better?
I
Well,
didn't say,
even
I said,
then.
I said favorite, not
Okay.
better.
Favorite, not better. Okay.
That's actually pretty. That's
Thank you
still
for
a
pointing
big
that
praise.
out.
Like of all the players on, you have Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce.
Look,
you could talk about anybody. Tyrann Mathieu. Anybody.
yeah, they're fun, but guys like this who are they're a force to reckon with, where they can go through people. He does what I like to see. He's one of my favorites.
Well, you might have low standards. I don't know, but I will give him a swipe right though. I like Tano
better
for
give
what
him
he
a swipe
for
right.
what he does. I think he can do better. Of course, he's going to do better eventually. I think as time goes on. But why not keep him? He's not going to cost very much. He'll be cheap. And after that, I got actually 2 more for you guys. But let's go Travarius Ward, cornerbacks. We have both of our starting corners right now up for auction per se. Is Ward a swipe left, swipe right?
Oh, he's going swipe right all the way just because I think he's a big baller.
Ooh, I'm going left, man.
Okay.
I liked Ward. I didn't think he was as great last year. It kind of had me feeling like an early Veach cornerback pick that we got from free agent. Can't remember his freaking name now, but it has the feeling of that he's starting to go downhill. I'm good. I think we got Rashad Fenton and Hamilton behind him with Sneed who can take the other side. I think we're okay. I'm I'm good with Sword.
I think we can live without him, especially if we do keep Breland. We got to keep one of the two, no matter what.
And I'd rather
So
keep
we
Breland
both
over
agreed
Ward.
keep Breland, right?
Yes.
So with that said, we all want to keep Breland. Then I can go left on Ward and let him walk and not pay him whatever kind of contract he's going to end up wanting.
Right.
So I'm cool with letting him go. It's not a big deal to me. And then I got one more for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and use that super like real quick on our restricted free agent, Byron Pringle. Go ahead and lock him in, give him that tender, if you know what I'm saying, and make him a part of this team for quite a while going forward. I think he's a productive, great player just in general. Good football player.
I mean, I think we're all on the same page on that part, right? Like,
yeah.
Pringle's a yes. Like we want to keep this guy. Ever since he really showed out in preseason towards, I believe, his ACL in the last preseason game. Mike and I think we're actually there for that, or maybe I was with Eric, my brother, on that one. But that was a sad sight to see. But yeah, Pringle, he has a bright future with the Chiefs, especially Patrick Mahomes throwing that ball.
Yeah, I totally agree. We're going to swipe right on Pringle because we're going to get him on the cheap.
All right, you guys. So with all that said about the Chiefs free agent list, all right, Jason, wrap us up with your NBA to finish us off.
No, I just want to touch on the NBA MVP talk discussion here just for a minute. So it's official that Joel Embiid has officially overtaken the great LeBron James. I said it earlier on the show. He is the GOAT, the greatest of all time. So Joel Embiid overtook LeBron James as the MVP favorite. You look at the odds on MGM. You've got Joel Embiid as plus 200, LeBron James plus 250, and Nikola Jokic plus 450. And when I compare the three of guys, I'm looking at Joel Embiid and LeBron James. They both have essentially the same record on there. The only difference is Joel Embiid is in first place in the Eastern Conference. LeBron James is third. So they would be the number 3 seed, the Lakers, right now if they started the playoffs. And Nikola Jokic, the Denver Nuggets, would be the number 6 seed. So I just wanted to kind of get you guys' take on this because I kind of, if I had to bet on it right now, I would go with Joel Embiid. But I want to know if you guys think that LeBron has a chance to kind of come back in that MVP race.
LeBron has a really good chance. So in case you haven't been paying attention the last few years, guys, Joel Embiid, when he gets towards the end of the year, usually gets this thing called the injury bug and then starts sitting out games. So that is something to watch for. And if the guy continues out and actually plays, yeah, he will probably win this thing. But past years have shown Joel Embiid towards the end of the year, things start hitting and he ends up sitting out enough that where it does affect his MVP decision.
Yeah, the only thing I would say to counter that is the fact that this is a regular season award. So LeBron James, I mean, if you take into account that Anthony Davis is on the shelf right now, LeBron James is not really worried about stats right now. He's got to try to do whatever he can to save his body for the playoffs. And so LeBron doesn't really care about the regular season. And so the MVP is a regular season award. And so if Embiid can somehow get lucky this year, and a lot of players eventually, even if after they're injury prone, sometimes they get lucky, they stay healthy for a full year. I mean, they're going to give the MVP award to Joel Embiid just because, I mean, they know he has no fucking chance of winning a ring this year. So, I mean, fucking give him the MVP.
It's not a feel sorry award. It's not a feel sorry award.
But you know he's going to win it.
I think.
When's the last time LeBron won the NBA MVP?
No.
It's been light years.
I don't think it'll be LeBron though. I think in the end it's going to be Jokic.
Jokic?
Yeah.
So you think they're going to give it to a white guy?
Yeah, I'm going to give it. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so
you're going to have LeBron, who's going to be saving his body, right? And so he's not going to be playing as much. Joel Embiid's going to get hurt towards the end of the year because that's what he always does. So you got Nikola just sitting there balling out. So why not? Why would he be in the loop?
Just to be clear, when you talk about the NBA MVP, the definition
regular season
the definition of an NBA MVP is the best player on the best team. So when you're sitting there looking at a team like the Denver Nuggets, who are currently the number 6 seed, and you've got a team like the Utah Jazz, who are the number 1 seed, why would you not put Donovan Mitchell as the front runner ahead of a guy like Nikola Jokic? Because Nikola Jokic didn't do anything. They're 21-15. I mean, Joel Embiid and LeBron James's team, they've only lost 12 games.
I think that's a broken definition, by the way, of an NBA MVP.
Mm-hmm.
NBA MVP should be the best player in the league, despite the record.
I'm not saying I disagree with you.
I'm just telling you.
I'm not telling you what the definition should be. I'm telling you what the definition is.
It's
the best player on the best team.
It's like the NFL, right? Are the Ravens as good without Lamar Jackson playing? No, you're not. Are you good without Patrick Mahomes? No. Is the Denver Nuggets actually even in the playoffs talk without Jokic?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying when you look at these guys,
look at it that way.
Guys, to be honest, I was joking. So when we're talking about European players versus American players, it doesn't really matter. When I'm looking at a guy like Nikola Jokic, Denver Nuggets, number 6 seed, and you can even throw Luka Doncic in there, who's another great European player, but his team's not doing shit.
No.
So you have to be a great player. You have to be a superstar. You have to be on one of the best teams in the league.
I just don't feel like
and so that's why Luka Doncic, I mean, nobody even cares. He's like the number 4 or the number 5 guy in the odds
he's number 4
to win the MVP.
He's
and
at
so
1,300.
To me, it's an argument between Embiid and LeBron James and Jokic, unless he can do something to get his team in the running, or unless Luka Doncic can do something to get the Mavericks into the running, which is not going to happen. I mean, he's not even first place in his division. The Spurs are currently ahead of the Mavericks. I mean, they have no shot to win the MVP, and so that's why I think it's an argument between Joel Embiid, LeBron James. Mike, who you got at the end of the season?
I think at the end of the day, it's going to be LeBron James because it makes the most sense for what's going on there. And I kind of disagree a little bit with both of you on how to define MVP. I lean more towards kind of the middle of the two things there, where you guys know with baseball, they have the stat called WAR, wins above replacement. Yeah. And I look at the MVP in that regard to where I'm like, okay, if you take away guys like Lamar Jackson from the Ravens and put in a replacement of an average player, how many wins less do they have? And if I look at that and I go, okay, that's 4 wins less. Now, if I take away Aaron Rodgers from the Packers, how many wins do they have less at that point? 5 wins. So let's just say in that case, the player you have in your team is helping you win more games than the next guy. That to me kind of defines more of what an MVP is, of who does the most valuable player for that team, and then the entire league. Because you have MVPs for every team. Every team does an MVP.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, every team does that, and they announce an MVP award for all teams across the board. Now take the sum of all those MVPs, and now which one of those MVPs is now the most valuable player for that specific team over any other team out there in the league. And so I just think that's kind of the way I look at it. But in this case in particular, if you take LeBron James away from the Lakers, I mean, is that team going to be anything?
You're not talking a playoff team.
Exactly. And so that's why I think LeBron makes the most sense for this. And Joel Embiid has done great by himself too. So obviously the 76ers would not be sitting with their current record right now. I think 24-12, something along those lines.
They'd still be a playoff team.
So in that case, you're in agreement. LeBron would be the MVP.
Yeah.
I agree with you on wins above replacement. But if you're going to use that argument, let's just go ahead and take LeBron and Joel Embiid off both of those teams and say that it's Ben Simmons versus Anthony Davis. I mean, who do you think the better team is?
Just off of those two?
Just off of those. If you take both of those guys off of those teams, who's the better team if you don't get to see any of those two guys play?
If you don't see Embiid or James play, you're still seeing the 76ers as a better team.
No, hell no. Hell no.
Easy.
Anthony Davis, when healthy, is a much better player than Ben Simmons.
Yeah, but you also don't have the support cast that the 76ers have. And that's the cutoff right there.
No, I mean, I think they're even. I think you take both of those teams, right? Yeah, I think you guys would both agree with me. Those two teams each have two superstars.
Yeah, they do.
And if you take LeBron off the team and you take, you take Embiid off the Sixers, then you're left with Ben Simmons versus Anthony Davis. I don't think anybody would argue that Anthony Davis is a much better superstar.
I'll take AD over that situation.
Ben Simmons is not even a superstar at this stage of his career.
Ben Simmons could have more of an impact with the roster he has around him than AD could right now.
No,
you take LeBron away, you really don't have a lot.
No, I think if you take both of those guys off, I think if you just have Anthony Davis healthy on the Lakers, they would make it a whole lot farther in the playoffs than the 76ers would without Joel Embiid. But that's an interesting argument that we can continue on another segment.
Yeah, I agree.
Welcome into the Sports Buffoons podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, to a special St. Patrick's Day edition of the Sports Buffoons podcast. This is episode 51 for us, you guys. So 50 was last week. If you missed that, go check it out. It was a great show. I know it was a little longer than normal, but we had a lot of great content. Back here again, we got Tanner Dawson and Jason JG and Mike Settle running it. What's up, guys?
What's up, guys?
Yo
is right. We have some March Madness. If you're following along on YouTube here, our YouTube account is just Sports Buffoons. And then on our Twitch account, as a matter of fact, we are Sports Buffoons 15. Is that right, Tanner?
No, we are Sports Buffoons all the way around now, guys.
We're just Sports
Buffoons.
There
is no 15 anymore.
So you're telling me
it is Sports Buffoons all the way around.
Every account, our Twitter, our YouTube, our Twitch, all the accounts are now just Sports Buffoons. At Sports Buffoons.
Correct.
I like it. I like it a lot. And our Instagram, as a matter of fact, too.
Instagram, too.
We've been more active on here recently, which is also cool for you guys to give us a follow on. We will follow you back if you give us a follow on there. So with St. Patty's Day, you guys feeling lucky? Tanner's wearing green. I'm wearing blue. It's not really festive.
Yeah, so I kind of got, I'm wearing green, but with the green screen, it's probably not going to work out the best.
Oh, do you blend in?
I might be blending in with our Sports Buffoons thing.
I like it. You're like a ghost.
But, I got my Jayhawks green on, so, we're getting ready for the tournament.
Yeah, so I didn't have to wear green, but what I did do was I ordered a Long Island iced tea made with blue Curacao, which turned it green. So I'm not wearing green, but I have green somewhere inside of my body.
Yeah, my Tank 7, for whatever reason, Chris over there at Hy-Vee thought it would be a good idea to add some green food coloring to my Tank 7, and it turned out to be kind of more like a baby shit green rather than a St. Patrick's Day green. So it didn't exactly work out, but shout out to Chris for making some of the best margaritas out here in Overland Park over at the Hy-Vee bar on 95th and Antioch. So that guy does do a phenomenal job. So thank you very much, Chris, for helping me out during the preparation for the show, as Jason and JG and I hang out there every once in a while. So I was kind of thinking about this, guys. So we all know our favorite Patrick is Patrick Mahomes. I mean, there's no one else that can come to mind that's even going to be living to the standard of what he's done for our lives. I know Jason's made a lot of money. He's given me a lot of happiness, and same for you, Tanner. I assume you've just...
I'm ecstatic.
What other Patrick would come close to this? Yeah. Do you have a favorite Patrick besides Patrick Mahomes?
I do, Mike, actually.
Who would that be?
Patrick Star of SpongeBob SquarePants.
I like that. One of
the best characters to ever be made, and one of the best shows out there. And you people who grew up with me, you guys understand what Patrick Star is all about. Now, there is a spin-off series that's supposedly coming to Patrick Star himself. So I can't wait to actually watch that. And I got a daughter, so it's an even better excuse. So I can't wait for this.
Is this going to be like when they made Better Call Saul, a spinoff from Breaking Bad?
Nah, I think it's gonna be better.
I hope so.
Because it's Patrick Star.
Yeah, I think he can pull it off. As long as Squidward's in the mix, I feel his.
I don't know. I don't know exactly which characters, or if SpongeBob or Squidward's in the mix, or Sandy, but you can't complain with the Patrick Star spinoff. So.
Yeah, who's your favorite Patrick, Jason?
Oh, that's fine. I was told that this was going to be the best athlete by the name of Patrick, so I'm pretty sure that...
That's not what I got told.
Anybody in that cartoon or whatever the hell you were just talking about is not an athlete, but I was going to go with the great Pat Riley,
Yes.
The chief of basketball operations out there for the Miami Heat, but I thought that's too easy. He's got too many rings, so... My favorite Patrick is currently in the NBA. He goes by the name of Patrick Beverley. Now, you look at this guy's numbers, he doesn't put up a lot of points, not a lot of rebounds, shoots the three ball at a pretty decent percentage, but the reason I like this guy, Pat Beverley, is that he's an absolute monster defensively. And if you ask all the point guards around the NBA who they think is the toughest guy to go up against, Pat Beverley is going to be at the top of that list because he just wrecks the game. That's his job, is to wreck the game on the defensive side of the floor. And, he gets a lot of steals. He's a lockdown defender. And he's basically an alpha dog. He might be the alpha dog of the NBA, but he just doesn't get enough credit for it. So props out there to Patrick Beverley.
Yeah, no. Great defender. Great defender.
Yeah, never heard of him, but great defender. My favorite Patrick, I cheated a little bit on this, but I'm going to go with Pat Tillman, the former safety of the Arizona Cardinals, that ended up going into the military back in 2002 after the September 11th attacks, who was then later killed by a little friendly fire on April 22nd in 2004. The guy gave up his NFL career to go fight for the country during war at that time, so absolute kudos to him. And he's still someone who, to this day, the NFL recognizes as being a hero of giving up millions of dollars. He actually turned down an offer, do you know this, Tanner? From, at one point, the St. Louis Rams. There was going to be a 5-year, $9 million contract, which was very good for the time at the time back then. He should turn down that offer just to stay with the Cardinals because he wanted to stay in his home state. He went to Arizona State, and he was just loyal to his team at that time. So you don't see loyalties much anymore in the
Especially
NFL.
like that.
And so for him to turn down a big contract, because he was only making about $1 million on the new contract he was just given by the Cardinals at the time, where with the Rams he'd have made $2 million. So, I mean, for any normal human back there in the year 2000, that's a big chunk of change, I think. So
Big time.
that is my Pat. Besides Patrick Mahomes, of course, because let's be honest, there's no competition there. So we did begin the new league year, you guys, today at 3 p.m. Central Time. So the new NFL league year has begun. Free agency is now legal. I mean, you can now, there's no tampering or anything like that to worry about between players and teams. So I was kind of thinking, I looked through the list of certain guys that were kept and let go, certain guys that were free agents but that were somehow made it a way to stay back with their team. The biggest one to me, big surprise to me, my favorite additions, I think, were the tight end acquisitions from Bill Belichick. I talked about him last week on our show when we did the little Tinder matchmaker kind of deal. I said Bill Belichick loves tight ends. Well, he doesn't just like one at a time. He likes two at a time like a normal man would. So I'm going to go with Jonnu Smith and having the addition as well as Hunter Henry paired over there at tight end. It's going to be awesome to see. Is it going to be at all similar to what we saw with Aaron Hernandez and Gronk at one time? Or is this just kind of a lesser version? What do you think of these two guys?
I think it's a lesser version, honestly. Like, I love Jonnu Smith. I love Hunter Henry. I don't think Hunter Henry can stay healthy enough throughout a full season is my issue. But if he's splitting reps with Jonnu, there's a chance the guy can stay healthy. But it's not going to be your Aaron Hernandez Gronk situation that you had, 8 years ago now? 6
Yeah, those two were supreme athletes.
Yeah,
course.
like that was a great combo. Like, you're not going to have that combo. But you got a great situation for Cam Newton to rely on, and also a great situation for the run game there to really to just create, right? That's the kind of the issue too, is they don't have a run game. Now they got some pass blocking tight ends who can really make the field open as well.
Do you have an acquisition so far that stood out to you that you're excited to see go to a new team?
I I was looking at all of the transactions today, and the one thing that stood out to me was the San Francisco 49ers. Their Trent Brown signing, right?
Trent Williams.
Gosh,
yep, back with the Niners again.
You know who I mean. Trent Williams, first off, that huge contract alone, like, you're making star lineman players feel, like their money's nothing. So props to that guy. I'm glad the Chiefs were in the fight, but I'm glad we didn't pay that kind of money in those years. And then who signed today on the right side?
On the right side.
Who
talking about from Kansas City?
No, not for KC, not Cal.
On the right side for the 49ers.
So, I'm sorry, it wasn't 49ers. Yeah, it was, because Alex Mack was supposed to be with Arizona, and then he got parched off. So I think he's with the 49ers, and then they got somebody else today that just dominated their line. I can't remember.
You have to fill me in on that one, Tanner, and if that's the case.
You come back to me here in a minute. I'm going to find the name.
Jason, in the meantime, tell me your favorite acquisition so far.
Yeah, dude, before I get to that, I did want to touch on Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry because, you took my favorite signings, so I did want to touch on it a little bit. So I was kind of, I didn't have a lot of feelings when they re-signed Cam Newton out there in New England, but when they signed these two tight ends, it kind of made sense to me because we all know that Cam Newton, his arm is not completely dead yet, but it's somewhat dead to where he can't throw the deep ball consistently, and he also can't check it down very well either. So I think they're just trying to build around Cam Newton. They're trying to accommodate him for what he does best, which is just throw that intermediate pass to those tight ends. And so I did like those two signings. I think they were my favorite. But as far as relevance, I got to go with Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They re-signed Rob Gronkowski, 1 year, $10 million. The guy somehow, some way is still playing at a high level. And the Bucs are just going to put him in bubble wrap until week 14 or 15 and just unleash him again when it comes time to go to the playoffs. And
that they will.
When you're a champion like the Bucs, you got to do what you got to do. You got to bring all the guys back, or as many guys back as you can. And so, Gronk, he's no spring chicken, but I think from the Bucs' perspective, they did the right thing to bring him back because, he's a tried and true champion. The other guy is Shaq Barrett. The Bucs gave him 4 years, $72 million. And we all know in the NFL, the name of the game is to get to the quarterback. And they won a Super Bowl with Shaq Barrett. And as much as I don't want to see that ever happen again, it did happen. And so the Bucs, another guy you got to bring back into the fold. So those were two really good signings for me, Gronk and Shaq Barrett.
They just re-signed Suckup today too. That was pretty huge for the Bucs.
Yeah, I don't care about Ryan Suckup.
Ryan Suckup.
Hey,
that's what we're going.
Twins them, right?
We're excited about Ryan Suckup.
Hey, did you guys see just now? I just hopped on Twitter here because it was on ESPN. But Patrick Peterson reaches an agreement with the Vikings, guys, and then Kyle Van Noy goes back to the Patriots.
Ooh, he could have been my favorite Patrick, not named Mahomes, but he decided not to come to the Chiefs.
Yeah,
that's right.
Still a bit of a stretch over there.
Not going to be my favorite.
Curtis Samuel reunites with Washington and Terry McLaurin.
Okay, I like that. I like that.
That's not a bad pair right there for Mr. Fitzpatrick. So
T.Y. Hilton's still available too, so I'm curious. I picked him to go to KC, as a matter of fact. So we'll see if that pans out in some kind of way down the stretch here.
That will be.
There's still a lot of names left to go. I was pretty excited today to see the Chiefs get a good, easy, cheap deal done with right guard Kyle Long. And Kyle Long has had an injury history, but he is in great shape still. So the thing is with the Chiefs right now, they have been adjusting the interior offensive line, which I didn't feel was the biggest issue necessarily. It was more the tackles when you let go of Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz. But I'm kind of thinking that their assumption at this point is that someone that's a guard right now is going to be able to play tackle. Is there a chance, maybe in the Chiefs' mind right now, that Lucas Niang could play right tackle? I don't know, because that's.
I think that's their plan all along. Is to have him go right tackle.
Right now, you're looking at Joe Thuney at left guard. The center is still to be, named up in the air at the moment.
Correct.
I assume the right guard will either be LDT, unless he's traded or released, or it'll be Kyle Long.
Yeah.
And then at right tackle, I think Lucas Niang should be involved along the offensive line as long as he pans out as we expect him to on a professional level.
So now it's just a matter of left tackle, right?
There's a couple holes, of course, and to make sure the depth is there. So right now, the Chiefs currently have one tackle on the team.
And it was Alex Mack, so you guys know, for the 49ers that I love the signing of with Trent Williams.
Alex Mack for center.
Correct.
For the 49ers.
Correct.
So, yeah, that's good for them. I mean, of course, that's a team that relies on their offensive line quite a bit, so they do need those guys. The Chiefs still have Dan Kilgore they could have come back and be their center. I think that would be just fine, really, to me. But then again, I don't know what Andy Reid looks for necessarily in his centers, because I thought he did play better than Austin Ryder, and yet he wasn't on the field as much. So I still want to see the wide receiver market unfold more. Kenny Golladay is in talks with the New York.
Closer to draft time, Patriots have already extended a lot of these free agents, so let's get to draft time. I'm ready to see what actually happens through the draft, and maybe some of these trades that might come up for the draft as well.
Yeah, I was actually staying up a little bit late last night doing a little research and came across some information regarding Deshaun Watson, the quarterback for the Houston Texans. And it's very interesting. Suddenly, there was a case that has come out from a lawyer who was actually on Instagram that posted a statement. And basically, it's along the lines of a sexual assault allegation at a massage parlor. Reminded me a little bit of something that happened to Peyton Manning one time, Tanner. Do you remember that scandal at all with Peyton?
I don't. Actually, can't recall that.
Yeah, it was something that happened about 20 years ago from now, but some kind of a hint towards something sexual happening at a parlor. Apparently, Peyton Manning at the time exposed himself to the massage therapist, and it was a big ordeal at the time. But that was a long time ago, and of course, Peyton Manning being Peyton Manning, it was swept under the rug. But Deshaun Watson's issue here is interesting, considering the guy does not want to be in Houston. He's actually not returning phone calls from the team. The timing of this is very interesting when this came out. This apparently happened in March of 2020, and the massage therapist runs this business out of her home. It is according to what I've read in the case. Apparently, some of the quotes, about 25 minutes into the massage, and despite attempting to be appreciative and accommodating to his conduct, due to Watson's comments and behavior, the plaintiff began to feel extremely uncomfortable. It became apparent that Watson wanted a massage for only one reason: sex. Scared, a bit confused, and not wanting to upset the much bigger and athletic Watson, plaintiff did not know what to do. She did not want to confront Watson because she feared for her safety or possible retaliation or injury to her fledgling business. At the same time, she wanted the massage to be over and wanted him out of there. So at that point, he apparently exposed himself, and it was apparently said that he had touched her with his groin on the hand, apparently, is what I've looked into. I do think that this is interesting to hear this kind of case come out, and as far as the relationship between former owner Bob McNair of the Houston Texans being neighbors with this specific lawyer here, and also a lawyer who in the past has actually abdicated for keeping Johnny Football in Texas. So the same lawyer here that's going on about sexual assaults in a massage parlor wanted Johnny Manziel to be kept in Texas to go to the Houston Texans at one point. So I don't know if he's a guy that you want to trust with his ideas, but did you read some of the things at all about how the woman was affected at all by the damages on the report, Tanner?
I did not. I did not get a chance to actually read through the full report.
Yeah, it says that she's suffered from conscious physical and mental pain and suffering, physical impairment, past and future, loss of enjoyment of life and peace of mind, reasonable and necessary medical counseling, psychiatric and therapeutic related expenses, loss of earnings and earning capacity, and such other damages will be shown at the trial, apparently. So this is an interesting case. Do you have any quick thoughts right here on this?
So real quick, too, there's actually a second lawsuit that has been filed, and the incident took place back on August 28, 2020. And according to Busby's Instagram, there are now a total of 4 cases against Watson, and only 2 lawsuits have been filed so far. I kind of want to see more detail, more, evidence unfold before I make any case. It's kind of odd. It honestly is kind of odd that this is coming up during such a controversial time with Houston Texans and Deshaun Watson. But at the same time, let's get some facts in here. Let's figure out, is there more, reports? Is there more stuff going on? We need to see more here.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, the way I look at this is that's very unfortunate that the Houston Texans would try to frame a player that doesn't want to play for them. I mean, that's going to the lowest of the low, and I mean, I've never seen anything like this before, but to me, the first thing I look at is that Deshaun Watson has a defamation of character case that he should be filing immediately against the Houston Texans, because make no mistake, we have no evidence. There is no evidence out there right now. This is a he said, she said. There's no video evidence. There's no photos. There's nothing. This is a total frame job by the Houston Texans. And if I were Deshaun Watson's agent, I would be filing that lawsuit immediately for defamation of character. We all know that Deshaun Watson does not want to play there. He never wanted to play there after they did away with his only weapon, which was DeAndre Hopkins. Why would anybody want to play there? And we have a little thing in this country called due process, and what happens is you are innocent until you're proven guilty. Mm-hmm. And so we all know on this show, and I'm sure much of our audience knows, that the Houston Texans are a trash organization. It's been all over the news. Everybody knows it, even ESPN. And I honestly just hope that somebody eventually buys out the team and moves it to, I don't know, St. Louis or some random city. Just get them the hell out of there, because this frame job that they're trying to do on an elite player, let me make myself clear, this is an elite quarterback in the NFL that they are trying to bring him down and ruin his career after he has already given his whole life to the city. And Houston's a trash organization. I know you guys all probably agree with me on that, but let me be clear. This is not like a political discussion. You are innocent until proven guilty. And to me, they're attacking an elite quarterback who is an African-American male in the NFL. And it's disgusting to me. And I can't believe that we have to talk about it on this show. But you guys can tell me if you disagree or agree with me. But to me, this is a disgusting topic that we're talking about right now.
Yeah. I think that it's interesting, though, that the attorney put out an Instagram post to go out there and garner attention to this through the media.
That's the thing that bothers me the most.
And here's the thing that also I think is kind of lost in our discussion right now, is that apparently the attorney tried to get Deshaun to settle out of court for a lump sum on behalf of his client. So he tried to first go out of court with this, but then Deshaun would not bite on it, but yet it's not about the money apparently. So it's something where they came to him with something, and then they go, basically, well, if you just pay us up, then we won't bring this out. And Deshaun goes, no, that's not going to happen. Because this is not what happened. This is not the truth of the matter of these things that came out. And, it just looks like kind of a witch hunt. We remember with Tyreek Hill and the way things unfolded with him as well, when Tyreek Hill actually did plead guilty at one point while he was in college. And it actually ended up benefiting him later on as time went on. He did get drafted to the NFL, of course, by the Chiefs. But we found out more things, more information as time went on, that much of what was said and done within the Tyreek Hill case before and even with the team was inaccurate. And he was framed basically by a girlfriend over abusive allegations with not only his child but also her as well. And so I think it's one of those situations here with Watson. You're having potentially a team looking for a way to get him involved and find a way to get negative attention brought to his life. But for what is the team going to gain from this? This doesn't improve his stock in a trade market. And he he might not play this entire year. I could see him sitting out.
Yeah, like I said, I've always said that he's going to sit out because he's not going to get traded. But now I'm starting to feel like Houston Texans organization's trying to find a way to trade him without them looking bad. And this could be the piece. Again, I'm not condoning anything. I want to see, more of what's actually going on. But, Deshaun Watson's history, from what I'm aware of that I've read as well, is not anywhere remotely leading up to this, like some of the others, like Ben and some of the other issues. But these guys, like Deshaun, it's not adding up. That's the only reason I'm saying it's just not adding up. Especially after you talked about the money, possible money settlement, and something just doesn't add up on this one.
Yeah, it's interesting that when we first started talking about this a few weeks ago, when I first thought about the Deshaun Watson situation, him wanting to be out of there, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is no big deal. It's just another Le'Veon Bell situation from a few years ago. He'll sit out in 8 or 9 weeks, and then he'll eventually play. This is completely different, guys. Like, he's not going to play. Period. End of story.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play anyway. At that point, you have no weapons and no offensive line, so
and you have, more importantly, you have an organization that just tried to frame you. Yeah. Like, nobody wants to play for that.
Yeah, absolutely not. That's an organization that's only gone downhill in the past 2 or 3 years combined. It is in a bad trajectory for sure. I think I have heard the Panthers are very interested in Deshaun Watson, so I don't know if that's something that will come about. Would you guys be cool with seeing him go to New England?
No, I don't. No.
Like, cool in a bad way or cool in a good way?
Like, no, I don't want him. First off, I don't want him to go to New England. Second off, I don't think he'll ever go to New England. So, like, that's Cam Newton's team right now.
Yeah, for at least a year.
He's not going. He's not going.
Yeah. I mean, if they can get him for pennies on the dollar, I think they would do it. But
I think Belichick would love to have him.
Oh, yeah.
Because that would give Belichick another 5 years.
I think any coach right now in the NFL outside of Andy Reid.
That would make them a playoff team again right away.
Yeah.
So, especially having 2 tight ends and all the free agent acquisitions that they got up to. So, I hope Watson gets out of there for the sake of everything, and I do hope that the allegations are not true about what has gone on. So, it just sounds a little fishy to me. We need to see more information come out as time goes on here in the next few days. So that's kind of an unlucky situation. So I was kind of thinking to myself earlier as well, like, what would be, in your guys' opinion, like, the luckiest career in sports history of all time? Like, who was just a lucky dog throughout all this? The luck of the Irish, so to speak.
Why don't you go, Jason?
I mean, I'd go with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he got to grow up in big league ballparks, so he got to see his dad be a professional Major League Baseball player. You know, he got to see what that lifestyle looks like. He got a free preview, and then
he was privileged, is what you're saying.
I wouldn't say privileged. He just got to see the life. You know, he got to see it from his dad's perspective. And then the other way he was lucky is that he wasn't one of these guys. I mean, he would have been a great player no matter what, but he got to sit behind Alex Smith for a year. And as much as we, should I say, worship Patrick Mahomes, he did learn a few things just sitting on the bench for that 1 year. And I don't think we can take that for granted as Chiefs fans. I mean, that Aaron Rodgers did the same thing behind Brett Favre for a couple years. And I think there's something to be said to just, it's something that builds your motivation. I mean, if you have to sit there for a full year and just sit there and watch the game, you can't even play. I mean, that throws fuel to the fire to the point where you do get out there, you're going to go out there and torch some teams. So I do think, you know, he's a lucky player. I mean, but the great thing about Patrick Mahomes is that he's got a lot of skill to go on with that luck.
Exactly. It's a combination of luck and skill,
of course. It's an
amazing
combination right there.
So it's a lucky situation and environment as far as what you grew up in, but the skill also, there's some natural ability, even in the way his bones were made. Like he's got, you know, all the unorthodox type of styles where he's kind of like flexible and flimsy in some ways with the elbow techniques and throwing motions and knees. He's double jointed in his knees and his elbows. So it's like he's got all those things and aspects. So that could be part of just like getting lucky.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way about the great Michael Jordan, the GOAT of the NBA. I mean, I've heard stories about the way he grew up and just, you know, always fighting with his brothers and just trying to become better every single day. And just the motivation factor of the way that you grow up can just throw a lot of fuel into the fire. And so I think the same way about Michael Jordan because, yeah, he had a lot of skill. He had God-gifted talent, just like Patrick Mahomes. But they were also lucky in the way that they grew up in a good environment that would motivate them to do, you know, great things with their lives.
I've got 2 guys that come to mind that maybe aren't quite that talented before I go over to Tanner here with this question. But my first one is Matt Castle. Matt Castle's lucky because he was 36-45 for a career record. He was a bum quarterback, and he made $65.5 million in his career. He, you know, rode the bench for the majority of his career. Got on the field, shit the bed multiple times, and yet still made $65.5 million. So, and yet still was given chances up to the age of 37 years old when we knew he sucked. And my other guy, similar, but Chase Daniel. You know why he's lucky? He started 5 games in his entire
career.
He started 5 games in his entire career. Guess how much money he's made in his career, you guys?
I think it was like $39 million.
You hit it basically there. $38 million for his career.
Yeah, something crazy.
And his record is 2-3 for his career. So as a career backup who's come in just a couple different times in his long, actually historied career at this point, he was undrafted from the University of Missouri, and yet $38 million later, and there he is, still picking his nose and everything.
That's nuts.
You have one, Tanner?
I do, actually. I got two. So I'm going to need your help on the second one, Jason.
Okay.
So actually, speaking of quarterbacks, Tom Brady, how about one of the luckiest guys ever, right? Gets a 6th-round pick. Actually came into his rookie year as a 3rd stringer.
Pretty decent looking wife. I mean, she's not ugly.
Not bad.
By any stretch of the
Not bad.
imagination.
He scored pretty well, right? So, and then the guy comes in as the 2nd stringer. Bledsoe gets hurt, comes in, and all of a sudden, the next thing you know, he's, what is he now, 6? What's his number now, Jason? How many rings?
Oh, he's probably got at least 7 by now.
Oh, is that 7? All right, yeah.
He's basically got the number that LeBron James promised us a long time ago.
Back to back
not 5, not 6, not so. LeBron actually, he promised 8. So yeah, I hope to God that Brady doesn't deliver on LeBron's promises and get the 8.
Oh, man. So Brady, right? So the guy is sitting here at, he just signed an extension to play through age 45. Talking about one of the luckiest guys ever, of just sitting there going to a whole new team as well after so many years of the Patriots of winning titles. He goes to a new team and wins a title right away, and then he gets the band back together, right? Somehow the Bucks make it work and they get the band back together, and now he's a chance to win his 8th title, which is just extremely lucky because you don't do that in professional sports. Now the next guy, I'm gonna need your help here on some facts. But how about Robert Horry?
Ooh.
You want to talk about a lucky guy? How about those lucky teams he was a part of?
No, I'm going to disagree on
Really?
that. No, absolutely not. Because as much as I want to see him, get into the Hall of Fame someday, because I am a Spurs fan, and he had all those championships with the Lakers and Rockets as well. He was not lucky because he actually contributed to all of those championships. I know with the Lakers, he had Kobe and Shaq. Goes to the Spurs, he's got Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker. He hit the key shots. He was the most clutch player on all of those teams. I don't care. You can even take it back to the Lakers teams. You can go back to the Houston Rockets with Hakeem Olajuwon. He was the most clutch player on all those teams. He hit the big shots in the biggest moments. That was not luck, Tanner.
So you think that's full skill?
That is all skill.
Okay.
Because you have to make the shot.
That's
I mean,
true.
if you're not Big Shot Bob, as they call him, if you're just some rando off the street and you're throwing up bricks, then all of a sudden the Rockets, Lakers, and Spurs don't have all those championships.
Yeah.
Even Kobe Bryant, we're sitting here saying, okay, well, maybe he only got 3 or 4 championships instead of 5.
Well, the year before he went to the Spurs, the Lakers missed the the playoff, or made the playoffs but didn't get to the championship. And he went 0 for 18 in that spurt during the playoffs. So that's the only reason why I'm saying guy has a lucky streak. But again,
if he's
like
on
you
a
said,
great team, with great
making
players,
the shots.
He gets the job done. I mean,
That's fair.
So many other guys in the league would sit there and they would blow that moment. They would totally blow
there
it.
You go.
And he just, I mean, I guess you would say there's a little bit of luck
to be on 2 dominant teams like that.
It's not necessarily luck because I mean he could very easily just go to his agent and say, okay, I'm on the Rockets now. They suck. I want to move to the Lakers. Okay, now they suck because Shaq is gone or whatever. Now I want to go to the Spurs. I mean, you can make moves like that. You just tell your agent.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve Kerr did the same thing back in the day. Steve Kerr has 5 rings.
That's
what
true.
happened to him? 1999 Spurs championship. Right after he was on the Bulls championships teams, he's like, oh, okay, the Bulls are done. Moves to the Spurs. And then, oh, by the way, comes back to the Spurs in 2003 and gets another ring.
title.
So, I mean, these guys are not just getting lucky. Like, they're working it out with their agents. And I wish a lot more players would do it like this and just try to look at these teams and say, okay, it's more, the rings are more important than the money. So, if I was a player, I would want to go to my agent and say, yeah, can you figure out a way to get me onto this team? Because my current team they're done. Because Michael Jordan just retired in 1998. So a la Steve Kerr. He's like, okay, Michael Jordan just retired. We go to the Spurs with David Robinson, Tim Duncan. Yeah, let's get another ring. To me, that's not luck. That's just, you're going to talk to your agent and be like, yes, I would like another ring, please. But you also have to have the skill to be able to contribute to that team. And when you look at guys like Steve Kerr and Robert Horry, I mean, Steve Kerr was one of the greatest sharpshooters of all time. He's probably, next to Steph Curry, probably 3-point percentage-wise, he's probably a top 3 or top 5 shooter in the NBA. And then with Robert Horry, we're never going to look at his regular season averages because he didn't care.
Because it was all about the playoffs for the guy.
I mean, even to this day, none of us really care. And even you fans out there, NBA fans, nobody gives a shit about the NBA regular season. When the playoffs come, we want a player like Robert Horry that's going to show up in the clutch and make the big shot in a Game 6 or a Game 7. And so, to me, that's not.
So Robert Horry is not on the list. Steve Kerr is not on the list.
That's all skilled.
Those guys are skilled in the NBA. So, Mike, I think Tom Brady is the luckiest player to ever play.
Well, we didn't bring up. All right. So, wait, you brought up Matt Castle, one of you guys.
Yeah.
So, I feel like Brock Osweiler was very lucky because, to my knowledge, he never did shit in the NFL. But his net worth, I just looked it up, is $20 million.
His net worth.
I mean, I don't even know.
He wasn't good.
If you weren't listening to the show right now, you wouldn't even know what position he played. I can tell you right now he played quarterback. But a lot of you people out there never even heard of Brock Osweiler. So
I remember watching him at Arizona State.
Yeah.
But,
so he's a lucky guy. He made a lot of money. Good for him.
Yeah, the Broncos thought for a minute they had a quarterback of the future, and then they got Peyton Manning, so that was not the case at the time. But you guys, that was a very skillful discussion you guys just had there. That was like way more in depth than I expected. Like, I thought you guys would just be like, oh, yeah, this guy, and then move on. But you guys wanted to dig deep into that.
We got some thoughts about
it. We got a lot of thoughts on that.
We're not just the buffoons around here.
Yeah, when you get into the NBA, it's like we can just kind of talk for hours on end. So the NBA is important right now.
Look on the wall.
All right. Well, anyways, you guys, we have a good tournament coming right up here, starting actually Thursday this evening, if you're listening to the podcast here on Spotify. So I know you have a lot of thoughts on the tournament, Tanner. You love March Madness. I think as we all do, it's a good time to go out with your buddies, have a drink or two, watch some games all day long.
Do you realize I reorganized my whole work area just for the fact that I can watch basketball games all day long in the background of my work area on my big screen TV?
I believe it. And why not? Because, Friday the games are going to be on early, but I think tomorrow the first game is at 4 o'clock Central Time.
Correct.
But your work area, Tanner, you're not going into work. You're working at home.
I'm working at home during the day. Then I do work Thursday night. Unfortunately away, but I'll have my phone on me. So I'm not too worried about that, guys. Like I'm going to be tracking some. I want to track some of these intro games as well. Michigan State game, the Wichita State game. Those are the two I'm really interested in right now of the 4 tomorrow. But then the big time starts on Friday.
Now that's one tomorrow, Tanner. Is this kind of an extra? Because why are we seeing 16 versus 16 and 11 versus 11?
So you could call them playing games. So they are part of the field, but they're technically playing games for those seeds. So their field, their resume, essentially matched for that seed. So now, you're going in to play for that seed. Mm-hmm. Now Drake is definitely a great team this year. The coach actually just signed an 8-year extension alone off this berth into the tournament on a playing game. So, but Wichita State has been dominant. They've beat the Houston team, who I personally think will make it past the Sweet 16. But you gotta watch out for Wichita State in this. And Michigan State, I'm very surprised Michigan State's even in this tournament. I didn't think they'd make it, especially after their early loss in
but
their
they're not guaranteed to be in the 64, correct?
No, if they win, they're in the 64.
They're in the 64. Okay.
Yeah. They have to win, though.
Yeah, I got a few teams I expect to go down as far as in the Final Four anyway, that is. I think I like Gonzaga a lot. I think that probably is the number one powerhouse team in the country at the moment. I like Texas as one of my teams that could be coming through from a 3 seed. And then I like Baylor and San Diego State. So those are my 4 teams from all 4 different sides that I think will be in the Final Four. I'll save my prediction as time goes on. Here probably next week we'll talk about it a little bit more as some more games go through the mix here. But what are more thoughts you guys have on March Madness?
So before I give out my Final Four take, Jason, what do you got for your Final Four?
Oh, man, I got a big list here. So I think we're going to start in the West. I am going to have to go with Gonzaga here. They're the number 1 seed. I am a KU fan. Right? So I hate to go this direction, but we're making official picks. I'm not going to bet on it, but maybe I am. But you guys, if you want to bet on this stuff, we do a little bit of research here on the Sports Buffoons, so I'm going to give you my betting favorites here. So Gonzaga, number 1 seed. To me, this is all about Jalen Suggs, who is going to be a top 3 lottery pick in the draft. And we're really big on this show. You know, we like to talk about current NBA players, future NBA players, but here's the bottom line, guys. The best players are going to win these games. And so, especially these guys that are expecting to be drafted in the lottery picks, they're trying to make a name for themselves. And so, look at Gonzaga. I'm looking at Jalen Suggs. He's averaging 14, 5, and 5. And he's only playing like 28 minutes per game. Shooting 51% from the field, 35% from 3. You've got an experienced coach over there at Gonzaga, knows how to lead a team, especially if they're a number 1 seed. I've got Gonzaga coming out of the West.
Yep.
So do you want to give your take on that, Tanner, or you want me to go to the Midwest?
No, I fully agree, unfortunately, but I do agree that Gonzaga will come out of the West. I think KU can still make a pretty decent run, but I'm worried about Iowa, and I'm also worried about not necessarily USC, because they are kind of a sneaky team. I think I'm more worried about KU and Iowa in this coming out, but Gonzaga right now, they have proven the last few, this all year long of just winning and winning against teams as well like KU. So I'll go Gonzaga out of the West.
Gonzaga out of the West, okay. Moving right along to the Midwest, I'm going to shock you guys a little bit here. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State. They are the number 4 seed, and by the end of the show, you guys are going to get sick of me talking about the NBA, but I'm going to cram it down your throats right now. Oklahoma State's got a guy by the name of Cade Cunningham, 6'8", 220-pound guard. He is projected to be a top 5 overall pick, and actually number 1 overall pick.
Yes, number 1 overall pick.
So he's averaging 20 points per game, 45% from the field, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. I mean, this guy's an absolute beast. Probably going to go number 1 in the draft. But even more important than that, guys, I'm not a big believer in Illinois or whatever that makeshift Phi Slamma Jamma they got going on down there in Houston. They're good teams, but I just don't think they're going to pull it out. And so, you're always going to have a bunch of upsets, and that's why I went with Oklahoma State, number 4 seed out of the Midwest.
I love Oklahoma State. I watched them every game they had in the Big 12 tournament right now, and even some games in the regular season. I love Cade Cunningham. I'm excited to see how he performs in this tournament against big games. When I say big games, I'm talking Tennessee, who's been really dominant, and they dominated KU earlier this year. But look at Illinois coming out of this Midwest bracket, guys. Illinois is, I personally think, the best team in the NCAA right now of this bracket. I think they come out, they dominate Drexel. They're going to have a good test against Loyola Chicago and Georgia Tech, whoever wins that matchup, because that's pretty much a toss-up. But they're going to come out in the Oklahoma State game. I can't wait for that game. And then, of course, whoever comes out of that bottom side of the bracket, I don't think it's West Virginia. I like San Diego State. I like Houston coming out of there. I don't like West Virginia. I think they lose to whoever wins that San Diego State-Syracuse game. So look at Illinois as my Final Four for the Midwest bracket.
All right, so you got Illinois there. So a little bit of a disagreement there. So before we move on to the East, I do want to talk about the path, as we do have some KU fans on this show. There's a part of the path for KU that bothers me a little bit, and that is USC. They are the 6th seed. KU would have to play them in the second round. They've got a guy named Evan Mobley, who is a 7-foot beast, and he's shooting 58% field goal percentage, 8 rebounds, and 3 blocks per game. Tanner, do you think that's going to be a giant roadblock for KU, or do you think that's something that is not maybe a big deal for them?
No, that's going to be a giant challenge, giant roadblock, whatever you want to call it. McCormick, yeah, he's been great. He's been really turning on this last bit, but he missed the Big 12 tournament. So this guy coming in with the East Washington game and then coming into possibly USC with that big giant guy in the center spot, yeah, that's going to be an issue for KU. That means we got to drain our threes, we got to drain our jump shots, and that's when we're forced to have to do that. That's when we get into our tough situations. So without McCormick being able to score down low, that could be a huge issue. And like I said before, that's a roadblock by itself. When I was talking about Gonzaga's.
Okay, so before we move on to the East, Mike, did you have any thoughts on that, on the West and the Midwest? Do you have your official picks there?
My picks as far as going into
Final Four.
Just the Final Four, yeah, absolutely, because I think Gonzaga easily runs away with that. That makes the most sense to me. They're 26-0 at this point on the season. And then the other one you wanted to know about was the Midwest.
Yes.
On the Midwest side, see, the number 1 seed right now is Illinois, and even though they are a good team and everything is sitting pretty at the moment, I think they can be upset. My upset I'm going with here is actually going to be from, let's see what I had, San Diego State. Is that who I had on that?
Yeah, you said San Diego State.
Like
That's who I had as kind of a surprise upset coming out of that section there. And I don't know, something about that team. They're one of those teams every year that's in the mix. They're an underdog, kind of like Wichita State to an extent. But they're always good every year, too, and they can surprise some people. And I don't see any teams that just jump out at me right now at the moment. I see a mixed bag of teams who could all beat each other. This might be one of the most difficult brackets to ever predict, not that we get them right anyway.
I especially think that Midwest bracket and the East bracket alone are probably the hardest ones to pick because there's so many so many teams that we're not used to seeing in these brackets or right in these situations, and they're all winnable games. Oklahoma State could very well upset Illinois and then come out of that bracket. Like, it's possible.
2 teams stand out to me in the entire thing, and that's just Baylor and Gonzaga. That's it. The other teams, I just don't know who's going to come. I just see a big bunch of cluster of teams that anyone could come out and win. So that's my thoughts on it at the moment.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I actually think the South is the one. That's the bracket to me that just looks like dog shit because I don't believe in Baylor. And so there's no way in hell I think they're coming out of that bracket.
Like, they may not, but you're looking at 2 teams that'll come out of that bracket.
How do you guys feel about Colgate? Colgate's sitting there at 14-1. How's that make you feel?
Oh, that makes me feel actually slightly horny, but maybe like a half chub, maybe not a full chub, but something like that. All right, guys.
I heard Deshaun Watson had a full chub during his massage.
Oh, man. All right. Hey, let's go.
Moving right along to the East.
Let's come back to the East.
Moving on to the East, guys. So I've got another sexy pick for you guys. I'm going with another number 4 seed. I've got Florida State.
Ooh.
And the reason I have Florida State is because, Michigan, Alabama, yeah, they're good teams, but they're not really great teams to me. But I do believe in the projected number 4 pick in the NBA draft by the name of Scotty Barnes. And to me, I mean, this guy is a stud, 6'9", 227 pounds. Anybody can come out of this particular bracket. I actually had the East and the South as my 2 shittiest brackets that anybody could win. But this particular bracket, I went for the sexy pick. I'm going Florida State in the East.
I like that. That's an interesting one right there. So the East is an interesting bracket. I think Michigan gets upset by LSU, and if they don't get upset by LSU, it's going to be Florida State. But I like Alabama coming out of that bracket. Alabama, they just played dominant in the SEC tournament. They were just, I loved watching it. The LSU game alone was fantabulous to watch. So I'm not a big fan of Texas. I don't think they're consistent enough. I see BYU upsetting Texas early. That makes way for Alabama, but at the same time, I don't see Michigan making this Final Four at all.
Hell no, they're not.
Even with Juan Howard being in the game, after he got kicked out of that SEC, thriller, I think it's going to be Alabama or Florida State making it to the Final Four, but I'm going Alabama on my pick.
All right, Mike, who you got in the East?
Over in the East, I think that was the one I went with on Texas.
Yeah, you went Texas.
So I'm not really sure why I'm feeling Texas on that one. I think maybe it's the road to their victory that has me intrigued. I do think they get past Abilene Christian right away, obviously. And then from there, I see them going against BYU in the next round. And then from there, trickling down, probably playing a team like Alabama that's sitting at the 2 seed right now. So I'm seeing a Texas-Alabama matchup. And at that point, I feel like Texas can just get hot at that point and kind of run the rest of the table up at least to the Final Four. At least that's my luck of the draw, wishful thinking on my bracket anyway.
No, I agree with you. I could absolutely see Texas coming out of that.
That's possible.
Into the Elite Eight. I could see Texas versus Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, let's move on to the South. Now, this is one I told you. This bracket looks like dog shit to me. I know you guys out there believe in Baylor, but I'm not a big believer in Baylor, so I hope you're not going to go all in on them and bet a bunch of money on Baylor because, they're a 1 seed, but I am going to take the 3rd-seeded Arkansas Razorbacks. Why? Because they have the number 5 projected overall pick in the NBA draft by the name of Moses Moody, 6'6", 205 pounds. He's averaging 17-6, 44% field goal percentage. And, oh, by the way, he's shooting 38% from 3. I think Baylor's a joke, guys. I think these guys are overhyped. And I also believe that Ohio State is overrated. So I know you guys think that a lot of you guys, especially you bettors out there that are getting ready to just throw all your money down, you guys think that this is the surefire bracket. Oh, it's going to be Baylor versus Ohio State, 1 versus 2 in that bracket, no matter what. But I got news for you. It's not going to happen. I just picked Arkansas just for the heck of it, but any team can come out of that bracket. You could see a Cinderella team coming out of this bracket.
This is the Cinderella team bracket. Let me tell you right now.
You going Winthrop?
No, I'm going Utah State to come out of this, baby. Actually, for reals, I like Baylor in this, but I also love Ohio State. Now, for Grayson's sake here, coming in our chat, Purdue, they have a real chance to go far, right? I don't know if they're going to go the entire Final Four way, but they have a chance here. But I love Utah State coming out of this. They got a matchup with Texas Tech, which I'm not a big fan of Texas Tech right now. They've dropped a lot of games late in the season. It's not a good momentum builder. Arkansas is kind of the same way. Florida, we don't really care about. But Ohio State, Utah State, Baylor, I like going to that Final Four spot. If I had to pick a Final Four out of those 3 teams, I am going to the Ohio State. But I do like Purdue giving a run. I do like Utah State giving a hard path to that Final Four as well.
So you do officially have Ohio State, is that correct?
The Ohio State coming out of the bracket.
Ohio State University, okay. All right, so for me, I had 2 number 4 seeds, 1 number 3 seed, and a number 1. I have wishful thinking here as well. I hope that KU can somehow sneak in there and prove me wrong and beat Gonzaga. And then I would have 2 number 3s and 2 number 4s in the Final Four. So, Mike, what do you think about the South? Who are you going to throw in there?
Yeah, looking at mine, I got 2 1s and a 3 and a 6. But with the South, I like Baylor has the best odds here of this one. Actually, it's kind of funny. I was looking at the list here. We're going to be down in Tulsa here in a few days. We have Oral Roberts coming from the South over there. So we'll be staying right over in that direction here.
We will be. Actually pretty close.
But I do think Ohio State goes out right away, crushes them on March 19th. Baylor should absolutely crush Hartford. From then on, I see a lot of guys in the middle. Winthrop intrigues me just because I'm curious to see if there's any legitimacy at all to their record of 23-1.
Look, Villanova's also not their usual self either, so that's a very possible upset right there.
It's a potential upset on the way there for sure. Because let's be honest, every year there's upsets in the first round every single year. Now you don't really see a 1 versus 16 upset. I think it's happened one time ever.
Yeah.
And then a 2 and a 15's happened a couple times, I believe. But otherwise, those teams kind of in the middle there, looking at a 5 and a 12, that is very possible. But I like Texas Tech, so I support them at least, just from a standpoint of supporting my.
Isn't it weird that both your teams are in this tournament?
It feels weird. Mizzou,
number 9 Mizzou, and then
Texas
Tech at 6.
I'm really amazed that Mizzou's involved. That actually blows my mind. And then Texas Tech, at least they're normally good every year, so I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. I'm rooting for either one to do well, but it's highly unlikely. So yeah, give me Baylor. So yeah, my top 4, as I said, you guys, for the Final Four, I got Gonzaga, Texas, Baylor, San Diego State.
All right. So for betting purposes, we always have to throw this out. So you guys know that every single year, a 5 seed will always beat a 12 seed. You never know who it's going to be. So just real quick, guys, which 12 is going to beat a 5? Because it's guaranteed to happen. Sometimes it's more than one time. But, I'm going to go with, let's see, obviously San Diego State is going to win. Or no, that's a 6
That's a 6-11.
So who do you guys got for the 5-12 games? Give me your guaranteed pick for a 12 seed that's going to win in that first round.
The hot and fire Georgetown, baby, led by the one and only Nick famous Patrick Ewing. So Georgetown is coming off a conference win. They are dominating right now. They are hit the hot streak at the right time. They will beat Colorado to go on to face Florida State in that next round.
All right, Mike, who you got? Who's the 12 seed that's guaranteed to upseed a 5 seed?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with that Winthrop idea that I had there, going over and beating Villanova. So that's my pick for that one. I think it's guaranteed to happen somewhere along the map here, but I didn't realize this. I mean, obviously, I'm not the NCAA expert here, but so Patrick Ewing is the coach of Georgetown. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Very interesting. Now, why are they just 13-12? What's up with that?
They're not that very good. They weren't very good at the beginning.
So they're not good, but they will get lucky.
They caught fire the right time. They caught fire at the right time.
Yeah, see, that's why I kind of have to go with Georgetown. If I'm going to make a bet on those 4 games, I got to go with Georgetown here because Colorado sucks.
Interesting.
That's a good.
They might show.
Colorado's a good team.
That's my analysis.
Georgetown has caught fire at the right time.
We'll see if they prove you guys wrong then. We'll see how that goes. All right. Well, that's going to take quite a bit of luck for all that to run down and to see if we're accurate with our Final Four.
Hey, how many brackets you guys filling out?
Just one. One bracket for me.
Jason?
I generally fill out only one bracket unless I'm betting. And if I'm betting, then I might do like 2 or 3. But I'm not going to throw a lot of money down this year.
No, I'm not. I don't think I'll throw any money down for the first time because nothing came through. But I'm looking at probably between 35 to 50 brackets I'll be filling out tonight.
Why would you do that?
Didn't you just have a child not too long ago?
I did.
Be spending that much time on brackets?
And I got like 12 hours of work, but
right.
I'm going to figure it out.
50 brackets. That's
about what I usually do every year.
He should be spending more time on casino gambling, perhaps, than.
Well, correct, because Tanner,
it's a big
here
gamble,
in about
guys.
10 days, we're going to be going down to Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is right by Oral Roberts, as I was talking about. And down there, we will be doing a little bit of casino gambling. So we got to get a little lucky at times here and there, but there is some skill to it, I believe, as well, depending on what kind of game you're playing. So I do have a couple favorite games that stand out to me. My absolute favorite casino game of all time is roulette. Something about just the ball spinning and stuff, it's just very intriguing. No, really, I love the odds of the game. I think that's very fun to play with, and as far as the betting strategies and way to use it, because you do have some control over how you make money each time. So, obviously you got the 35-1 odds. Mm-hmm. You got the sections, they got the 2-1s all across the board. You play different ways. You just do black and red, whatever. So you have little options at least. So you have some control over your bets at least of what you're expecting to win and your payouts. That is. So it's always been a fun game to me. It's easy to play as well once you understand the math of it. Some people like craps, some like poker, Texas Hold'em. I think Jason knows a couple people that like Hold'em quite a bit. But what do you guys think about your favorite casino gambling game? Tanner, you go first.
Well, my personal favorite is going to be roulette. I feel like I got more control. I got more, I don't know, maybe just because I'm more comfortable with the game. That might be why it's my favorite as well. I do play a little baccarat, but I'm gonna let Jason go at that. So roulette, I'd say, is probably my favorite thing to play right now.
That's good. So, yeah, when we're talking about casino gambling, guys, I mean, the first thing you got to look about is odds. I mean, you guys both brought up roulette, and that is by far the sexiest game that you can play in the casino. And it doesn't have the best odds, but it also doesn't have the worst odds. It's kind of the house takes out 5%, and they send you on your merry way. But you can win a little bit of money with roulette, but we go casino gambling, you're looking at the big three, as I like to call them. You're talking about blackjack, craps, and baccarat. You got to stick to those three games if you really want to have a decent chance at making money. I'm looking at blackjack, got a house percentage of 0.6% if you're using that basic strategy. If you're playing craps, that's probably my second choice. The house only has a 0.8% advantage on that game. Third choice would be baccarat. The house only has a 1.06% advantage on that game. That's what I like to call my big three. If you just totally refuse to play those three games, or you're intimidated, as some people, they get intimidated by those table games, then I would move on to video poker. And so I never recommend regular slot machines because video poker is always going to have better odds. But if you must, guys, if you must play a slot machine, which I refuse to do, you have to bet a $1 or a $5 minimum per hand.
I got some buddies that make thousands off these slot machines.
Yeah, and you can do it, but it's like I never recommend slots to anybody. But if you're gonna do it, like if you just can't pull yourself out of there, it's got to be a $1 minimum. Don't go to the penny slots. That's not like a long-term money-making endeavor, but just an interesting story. A lot of you guys probably haven't heard about this. They do actually have in Vegas $10,000 slots.
What the world?
And I see a lot of these people going in there. They're betting $10,000 per spin on the slot machines. So, but anyway, that's kind of my thought on Vegas. You got to look at the best odds. So, a lot of people can't control themselves, whatever. I got to go with blackjack, craps, and then baccarat. Those are my big three.
Baccarat!
You got to stick with the big three, guys, if you're going to throw big money down.
That's true.
Well, I'm glad we got that out of the way, Jason. I know you wanted to get excited about some baccarat. Get it out of your system as much as you can. You got some time to go. You were just in Las Vegas. I'm surprised you're still that excited about it.
Well, I don't have a system. I just try to get lucky, Mike, like these NFL players that we were talking about earlier.
I didn't say you had a system. That's a secret if you did. So, lucky. That comes to the theme of the day, is a little luckiness. But so with that said, is there anybody that's going to get a little lucky with the NBA trade deadline?
Actually, somebody just did.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if you saw this yet, but the Bucks acquired PJ Tucker. What we talked about 2 weeks ago.
Announce it live officially,
okay,
so we can all hear it.
So the Bucks acquire PJ Tucker from the Rockets, who is currently hurt. But we talked about this, about defensive guy, and that was one of the guys you brought up, right?
Yeah. So the Bucks, who are currently like number 7 in my power rankings, they don't even make the list.
Correct.
I mean, I like the deal. If you're the Milwaukee Bucks, you're trying to get better, but that doesn't mean they're going to be scoring more points. I mean, the Bucks just need more firepower. You can't just sit there and rely on Giannis Antetokounmpo all day long. I love PJ Tucker. He's a great defensive player. He's an alpha dog on the defensive side of the court. He can knock down the three-point shot. But to me, that's not going to get the Bucks over the hump.
No, and they did beat the 76ers today, but that was Joel Embiid. It's less, so there's that for you.
All right, so I'll just go over a couple of guys that I'm looking at here. We've got the NBA trade deadline coming up on March 25th, and we don't have a lot of superstars out there, so you guys aren't going to be seeing any big names floating around before the trade deadline, but I did want to talk about a couple of key guys that I think could make an impact on some contenders. And so the first guy I want to talk about is Terry Rozier. Now, there are reports out there that the Clippers would make a trade for him. Terry Rozier on the Hornets, he's averaging 20 points per game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, shooting a career high 48% from the field, shooting 43% from downtown. And I love the fit here. I'm not sure if the Clippers can get this deal done, but I mean, if you're looking at it from their perspective, dude, they have to get a deal done. They need a point guard. Pat Beverly, which we talked about earlier on the show, he's my alpha dog, plays great defense. He's having some knee issues right now. He's going to come back, but you need another scoring option on this team immediately. You've got to have a number 3 option behind Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And the reason I say that is because you've got Lou Williams sitting over there shooting the 3 ball, but he's a streaky shooter. He's not a guy that you're going to be able to depend on, you know, day in and day out, especially in a 7-game series when we approach the playoffs. You look at Terry Rozier, if they can figure out a way to trade for him, I mean, he's averaging 20 points per game and only 33 minutes per game, and he's a very underrated player. And I think the Clippers, they've got to add somebody. And, I mean, $19 million a year for Terry Rozier, it's very expensive, but I don't think the Clippers have a choice, because if they don't figure out a way to get him, they're not going to have a legitimate shot at winning a championship this year. You look at a guy like Kawhi Leonard, he's not getting any younger. I mean, Paul George is not getting any younger.
Nope.
They've got to add somebody. Nope. They have to add him now. Or, you know, at some point it's going to be too late. These guys are going to be too old. So I like the Clippers here to try to add that piece. Don't know if it's going to happen, but what do you think about that, Tanner? You like to add if they can get Terry Rozier on the Clippers?
Look, they need somebody, and Terry would be a great fit for those guys. Like, the Clippers have 3 teams on their trail right now at 16 losses, and Clippers at 15 losses. You had Denver Nuggets with Jokic, MVP possibility. You had Dame show right there on you, and the San Antonio Spurs sitting right there. Like, the Clippers are almost in threat to fall down to 7, if not possibly the 8th spot if it comes to it. Like, they got to do something. They got to make a move, and they got to make a move quick. Because you're not going to catch. I mean, the Lake show's right there with 13 losses, but you're 2.5 games back on those guys, or 2 games back. You're not going to get them. You don't worry about the Lake show. You got to figure out how to maintain that 4 spot in that division to have a chance to even get to that possibility of a championship.
Yeah, I mean, there's other names floating around out there for the Clippers.
J.J. Redick could be a spot again.
And then I've even heard a name like Ricky Rubio floating around out there. I mean, I hope to God that, you know, you got an owner like Steve Ballmer. He's got the money. He doesn't care if he has to pay the luxury tax. Like, please don't add Ricky Rubio. I mean, honestly, guys, if anybody can hear me out there, I hope to God they don't add him.
Don't go after him. Leave him where he's at.
Because he just, I mean, he's over the hill. But Terry Rozier is the guy, and if I can just call him Scary Terry Rozier,
Scary Terry,
maybe that will help them get the deal done.
Look, they got to get it done. Plain and simple, they got to get it done. Patrick Beverly is, you know, he possibly will be in and out the rest of the year until playoff time, so you got to have somebody there that can solidify that spot.
Yeah, although I do think they're going to have to give up a lot, because you're looking at the Hornets. I mean, you got MJ sitting over there with LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier. I mean, I'm thinking Jordan kind of likes that team right now. He's going to be asking a pretty penny.
He's got Devontae over there looking pretty damn good.
Well, I think he'll give up Devontae.
You really think
Oh, yeah, before Terry Rozier in a heartbeat.
I don't know about that, but I don't know. We'll have to see what exactly happens. But, yeah, you are still looking at a pretty price, I think, no matter what you come out of the Hornets.
Yeah, it just depends on how good of an owner we think Michael Jordan is, I guess.
That's true, too, right?
Maybe he can show us. Yeah, he showed us a lot as a player. Maybe he can show us a little bit more as an owner.
Maybe he'll take this personal, too. So.
Yeah, maybe he'll take it personally. So moving on to the next guy that I wanted to talk about that, again, these guys aren't superstars, but they are really, really good players that a lot of these contenders need their services. So I want to bring up Victor Oladipo, and apparently the Miami Heat are interested in acquiring him from the Rockets. Victor Oladipo is averaging 21, 5, and 5 on 40% shooting right now. And this is a similar situation to me like the Clippers. I mean, you're looking at the Miami Heat. So they were in NBA Finals last year. And what do they need? They need a number 3 option. So if these guys, the Miami Heat, if they want to get back to the finals or even be able to compete with the Brooklyn Nets, because right now I don't think they can even do that when KD comes back. I would like to see this deal get done because I think it'd be great for the NBA to have a little bit better competition. Now, the Miami Heat, they actually have enough cap space right now. Yeah. So if they can get the trade done, they're going to be able to sign Victor Oladipo next year. But I'm not sure if the Miami Heat are willing to give up Duncan Robinson in the deal. And I think they'll have to at least give up that, if not Tyler Hero. Now, I'm not going to give up Tyler Hero. There's no way in hell I would do that deal. But if you can package Duncan Robinson with some draft picks or something like that to bring in a guy like Victor Oladipo, I mean, Victor Oladipo was the number 1 option on the Indiana Pacers just a couple years back. And he's actually a star player. And, you know, we were sitting here all along, beginning of the year, preseason, it's the Nets. But this would make it interesting if you can add a guy like that to the Heat. And I could see them going back to the NBA Finals, but as currently constructed, there's no way in hell that's going to happen. There's no way in hell they're going to beat the Brooklyn Nets unless you add a number 3 option like this.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting today as well. The Myers Leonard trade went through. So, obviously, Oklahoma City is not going to keep Leonard. He's going to be on the free agent list, obviously. But Trevor Ariza just got traded to Miami, which should help them out with some depth as well. He should be available on Friday. But it's going to be interesting. Like, Victor Oladipo, if you're bringing him in this late in the season, and if he can stay healthy for the last half of this half going into the playoffs, you got another weapon right there with Jimmy Butler and Bam, right? Like, this is going to be great. But like you said, though, who are you giving up? You don't want to give up Tyler Hero.
Well, I think Duncan Robinson has a lot of value because he's basically right now, I think he's the best 3-point shooter in the league, if I'm not mistaken, at least top 3. So, I mean,
is there a chance you give up Dragic as well?
Well, Dragic is a bum, so yeah, hell yeah, I'd give up Dragic.
So
he's washed up. We love to use the word washed. Yeah, so if you guys haven't noticed out there.
I mean, he is second string, but yeah, I mean, he's still
actually more washed than Cam Newton. If I can just, Mike, you can give your opinion on that here in a minute if you want to. But Dragic is a washed NBA player.
I think if you give up Duncan and Dragic, I think you get a fair return coming into you. At least another guy that can maybe even come off the bench or maybe take replace of none. So, like, I wouldn't mind this at all. I would take that trade, and I think it would bolster the Heat. They're at 4 seed right now, or 4 seed in their division, and I think this could even boost them up to that 3 spot if it came to it.
All right, so do you guys have any other thoughts before we move on to the NBA power rankings? I don't want to leave you guys out if you have any other thoughts before the NBA trade deadline.
No, I don't have any thoughts on the NBA trade deadline. I'm more anxious to see what happens.
Just send the body somewhere and get the body in return.
So you want to bring Jordan out of retirement?
Switch bodies around.
Can we bring Jordan on to the Lakers? He can just play with
pushing
LeBron,
pencils.
Right?
You're just
Jason, real quick
around.
here. We talked about NCAA players, right? You talked about the picks coming up.
Sure.
Is there any teams right now that are willing to sell to get those picks? Right? Do you see any players on your NCAA list that you're like in the past, like a Ben Simmons or what New Orleans guy? What's his name? I can't remember his name right now.
Lonzo Ball?
No, forget Lonzo. LaMelo, right? Maybe LaMelo. Like those kind of guys. Do you see any kind of talent enough to be able to, that teams would say, hey, I'll send you my two really good players like the Grizzlies did that one year, and for this guy.
I mean, right now, the only guy that you're going to make a risk like that
Cunningham.
is Cade Cunningham.
Yeah.
I mean, because the rest of the guys, I mean, I like Evan Mobley. I mean, he's 7-footer, but, I mean, he's got to prove that he can shoot the 3-ball first before. I mean, a lot of these guys, it's hard to say if they're going to translate to the NBA, but I mean,
you don't see any big push then coming up at the trade deadline to get that first round pick possible.
No, I don't think so because it's a lottery. I mean, they're
that's true.
They're drawn out of a hat.
I always forget the NBA does the lottery stuff.
Yeah, it's a lottery, and I've always said, I don't know if you guys agree with me on this, but I wish the NFL would do this because I get sick and tired of seeing these teams that just.
You mean the same old teams every year?
Well, we've seen it before where they're sitting there, the NFL teams at 0-13, 0-14, and they're like, well, hell, we won't even try these last two games. We'll get the number 1 overall pick. And my opinion has always been, the NFL should do a lottery. Mm-hmm. That way, you can't just tank. At least we can see these teams try to play their best game at the end of the season because I don't like watching teams just tank at the end of the season to get a draft pick. I mean, nobody wants to watch that. I mean, Mike, you're the resident NFL expert. Do you enjoy watching teams just tanking at the end of the year?
No, it's not fun at all to watch them tank by any means. I do think it's probably less common than we think it might be when it happens as far as undercover tanking that goes on. I thought it was kind of interesting this past season. We saw kind of a fight for that number 1 battle. I think it was the Jets and the Jaguars. Both of those teams. But at the end of the day, both of those teams I felt like were fighting to win, and there was one game in particular that stood out. Can't remember which one it was, but they ended up getting a victory, which kind of screwed them from Trevor Lawrence. So it would have been the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Or the Jets.
It was the Jets.
Yeah, so they could have screwed them from getting Trevor Lawrence and the outcome of that. But they got a victory anyways. When they know if they just tank, lose all their games, then they're guaranteed to get that number 1 pick and get Trevor Lawrence here in the upcoming draft. So I don't know how frequent it really happens. I don't really know what to think of a lottery, considering I don't follow the NBA as closely as you do. I've always been very fine and comfortable with the way the NFL structures their drafts. It's never been an issue to me. So I think it's fair in general the way they do it. But I don't know. I'd be curious to see how that would play out if the NFL ever did something like that.
Yeah, it's a good point. So moving on to the NBA power rankings, we're just going to go over this real quickly. And the Buffoons can give me their thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Power rankings right now, I have it as Utah Jazz number 1. They got the best record. And then I've got the Brooklyn Nets number 2. KD's been out forever, but James Harden playing at an MVP level. He's carrying them on his back, basically. And so I've got the Nets at number 2.
Kyrie's been out, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying if you guys are out there, I just looked it up. James Harden is like plus 1,600 right now for MVP. So that might be, I wouldn't say it's an easy money bet, but, I don't know. I mean,
it wouldn't be a bad one to throw on
it's not
if you got the money.
Yeah, those are great odds, and I still think that Embiid is going to eventually win it, and that's why I have the Sixers as number 3 in my power rankings. Embiid's got a bone bruise. It's not that big of a deal. I still think that in the end, Embiid will win the MVP award because he's just got, it's not a major injury he's got going on. Number 4, I've got the LA Lakers. They're still playing at a high level, and why wouldn't they? They have LeBron James, even though they don't have AD right now. Number 5, this is a little bit lower than a lot of people. I've got the Phoenix Suns. We don't look at records on this show, guys. We look at talent and what we think they're going to do in the playoffs. So I got the Suns at number 5, and number 6 I've got LA Clippers. Unless they acquire Terry Rozier, then they might move up that list a little bit.
Yeah, I don't mind your list at all until we get towards the bottom there. Mm-hmm. I like the Suns still sitting there. I guess I don't mind your record at all until you get to number 6 with the Clippers. The Clippers, the last 10 are 4-6. Meanwhile, you got the Heat and the Bucks going 9-1 in the last 10. Like I'd almost put those two above the Clippers at this point in the season, especially in the last 10 games. Right?
Yeah, I can see that. And like I said, I do like the move by the Bucks to bring in PJ Tucker. I mean,
that's gonna be a great defensive add-on.
Defensively, he's another guy like Pat Beverly. Honestly,
so they gave a DJ Augustine and DJ Wilson, which I don't think are big deals at all. So you gain a defensive stability there on that trade after he gets done with his injury, right? Yeah. So I'm okay with that. And I think the Clippers part is the one that I think you could really swap out. But I mean, other than that, yeah, I think it's fair. Like LeBron at 4, the Nets. I think the Nets still sitting there at 2. It's still fair with Kyrie out, KD out, because those guys right now have enough time to get healthy to become a threat in the playoffs. Like you don't. Yeah, Blake Griffin, who will be making his debut probably Friday, if I remember right, if he hasn't already. I'm pretty sure he hasn't already. So you got another superstar right there, essentially. So you're sitting fine as a Nets fan. You're sitting fine as a 76ers fan because Joel Embiid he'll be back, and they barely lost to the Bucks today. So yeah, I'd say 6. You maybe go Bucks over Clippers right now, but that'd be the only fair standing.
Yeah, I mean, I just threw that number 6 in there for the heck of it. I mean, obviously either Bucks or the Heat, you're never going to be competing against the Clippers. That's never going to happen because those teams aren't going to make it to the championship anyway. But I mean, really, the only teams that matter right here is that top 5 or top 4, even, in my opinion. And so I've got.
I'd say top 5.
It's all about. Man. You'd say top 5?
You can't get the Suns out right now. At number 2, they're
8-2.
The last 10. I'm not counting the Suns out at all.
What happened when CP3 was on the Houston Rockets and they almost beat the Golden State Warriors and went to the NBA Finals?
What's your key words?
He got injured.
Almost.
He got injured. That's exactly what would happen now.
Hey,
if they get this far in the season, let me be clear here. CP3 is a stud, right? But we all know that his body is not going to last into the playoffs. And so that's why, to me, the Suns are not a legitimate contender. Like, we throw out these power rankings, 1 through 5, 1 through 6, that's great, ha, 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 ha. We all know is those teams aren't going to make it into the end.
Fair.
So as it stands right now, it's all about Jazz, Lakers in the West, Nets and Sixers in the East. That's your Final Four in the NBA. Just get it over with. I want to see that series. I want to see that Final Four right now, and let's just cancel all the rest of the games because they're all going to get COVID-19 anyway.
Mike, any thoughts, man?
I mean, I'll give you my top 5. I'm not going top 6 on you, but I think the Nets are number 1, and I've believed in them since day one, even before they had some additions throughout the season. I just think that offensively they've been too good, and I think the additions itself push them over the top as the season continues on the pace it's on currently. That is the team to beat. After that, I got the 76ers. I think that is a good quality team, great defense. And so, obviously with Embiid, the injury, I mean, I don't know how significant that's going to be as time goes on. It could be horrible. I don't know. But at the moment, as of where we stand right now, we need to see how they can adjust to that. After that, I got the Utah Jazz coming in there. I think that's just a team that's overall talented. They have a lot to work with. They're good on both sides, offense and defense. So I like them quite a bit. And then after that, I got the Milwaukee Bucks at my 4 spot.
Ooh.
And you guys might disagree on that a little bit, but I got them as my number 4. I think they're on the rise quite a bit. I think their trajectory is in the right path. And then to round it off there, I'll do the Suns at 5 for me. So that is my top 5.
Did you put LeBron in that?
No. LeBron is not in that. The Lakers are my 6.
What?
The Lakers are my 6 for the record, but no, LeBron is out of my top 5.
We just heard the Lakers are the number 6 team in the power rankings.
Do you know who LeBron James is?
I don't give a damn.
Well, apparently, because you're number 6, so.
That's very interesting, Mike. I don't know what to say about that right now. I mean, I had him at number 4, so a lot of people would call me a hater out there because I put him at number 4, right?
2 spots lower than you. Yeah, exactly.
If you put LeBron anywhere lower than 2 or 3, that means you're a LeBron hater, and you got him at 6. So
that's fine.
I'm kind of impressed, actually.
I like Giannis a little bit better than him at the moment, so I'll go with that.
I put the Lakers at number 4, so Mike's got him at 6. We'll see what happens. I mean, to me, you look at the injury that Anthony Davis has, that could be a huge issue. Like, this is a much bigger deal than the bone bruise that Joel Embiid has right now.
And we've talked about it the whole entire year. We have talked about it.
This is a huge deal because
this is nothing to be.
It's an Achilles injury, and so even if they sit him out another 3 or 4 weeks and just say, we're going to save him for the playoffs, it doesn't matter because they've got to try to ramp him up before the playoffs start, and you're never going to know if he's going to be 100%. LeBron can't carry that whole team on his back. They can't even beat the Jazz, dude. If AD is not 100%, let's just say AD is like 75%. They can't beat the Jazz. That's not going to happen. They sure as hell are not going to beat the Brooklyn Nets in a championship series.
It's going to be some interesting down the stretch, guys. And did you guys see the Mavericks are back in the 8 seed? They came out of nowhere and took the 8 seed.
I'm not worried about the Mavs. I mean, I love Luka, but he's not going to win the MVP, and the Mavs aren't going to win anything.
I believe that.
Yeah, that's how it is.
That's how it is.
They got to try to build around him. I mean, Mark Cuban's got to do a few things in the draft over these next couple of years to show what he's worth. I mean, Mark Cuban's a billionaire, all right? So
you still got some work, Mark.
You still got some work, man. In there and get rid of Porzingis, you know.
You still got some work.
Porzingis. Porzingis.
Gosh.
What a dingus.
I can't believe we're still talking about that guy.
Oh, man.
Gosh, he was supposed to be a superstar.
He was.
And he turned into a poor dingus.
Yeah, he turned into I'm not going to call him I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I won't call him a bum yet, but we're going to revisit
He's pretty close.
Maybe in a couple of years.
He's pretty close.
We're going to do another segment called Star, Superstar, or Bum.
Oh, we'll do that eventually. We'll do that.
He might be on that segment.
He's going to be right on that list.
Be a poor bum, I bet. So next week, you guys, we're going to have a lot of March Madness to go over once again, I think. And then the deadline will be the day before, or the day after, I should say, of our next show. So I'm sure you guys want to touch on that at least one more time next week and see what's happening in the NBA, if anything.
And hopefully we see some moves, right? Like, hopefully we see some stuff, too.
There's way more action that goes on in the NBA than there is in the NFL, by far.
Yeah, you got to see some moves. I mean, I don't want, like I said, we're not going to see any big superstar moves, but I want to see some, upper echelon players here, some star
support players that are really good role players.
And it's almost Royals time. It's almost time to talk some gosh darn Royals.
Oh, yeah, we got to get into some baseball.
We're getting close.
Did you guys see the Royals lost 12, or maybe it was 13-0 yesterday to the Mariners, to Connors Mariners yesterday?
Sure, I saw that. I did see that.
I didn't see it.
They lost today. They lost today as well. The record is 12-5 on the spring training.
Yeah, Brad Keller isn't looking too hot.
Well, that just means that Connor's doing a good job and should get a raise.
Connor's doing it right, man. I'm telling you. We got to watch out for that. They got some good prospects.
All right. Well, we're going to have another shot of whiskey, I bet, before we all go home here. But those of you on the road who've been listening, if you're still listening here, we thank you very, very much. And tune in with us again every Thursday morning or every Wednesday night if you follow along with us on Facebook and YouTube as well as Twitch. So all the good stuff there, right?
Yeah, man. You got it.
All right.
It's all sports buffoons now. So check us out everywhere.
Well, thank you guys for joining me along. And I will see you all on the next one.
JG is out.
See you guys.